Welcome back to the Fantasy Inferno, your weekly redraft live stream throughout the season. I'm your host, Brad Menendez. As always, with me, my main man, Bryce. How are you, my friend?
I'm always good, Brad. Thanks for asking. Cody, how are you?
Always good.
I'm great. I'm looking forward to another week of football. Last week was one of the better weeks in a bit, so it's gonna start to get crazy, I think. So I'm excited.
It is because it's bye week time, which is always it could send somebody down a rabbit hole of losing or put you back on the winning streak, depending on the bye weeks. This week's bye weeks are interesting. You know, we've got teams like the Falcons, Jets, 49ers. I mean, it's not an amazing group, but there are some quality players that are going to be off this week. So that's what tonight's episode is going to be about. First half of the show, we are going to talk about guys that we think could help you throughout as spot starters throughout this next, bye weeks, which are, I think, actually go back an extra week with extra game, if I remember correctly, as well as the second half of the show, like we normally do, we'll take your questions. So if you guys have them, throw them in the chat, and I will get to them. We'll make sure we get you all taken care of. With that being said, in my mind, and Cody, you're the one that came up with the idea, so full credit to you. I'm going to let you start with it. What is a spot starter in your mind? And then who is somebody that you kind of are when you first had this idea, who is somebody that you're like, I think this guy would be great as a spot start?
So for me, a spot start is either a guy that you might be on your bench already, or a guy that you can, pick up off the waiver wire type of thing and literally just plug in for, Alvin Kamara, Corey Davis, Michael Carter, something like that. A guy that you can plug in. He's going to get you for a running back, I'm looking for between, 8 and 12 touches. Wide receiver, maybe, 5 to 6 targets and 3 or 4 catches, something like that. Just a guy that you can try to, keep your squad together. Hopefully they're on your bench, some of the guys that we're going to mention, or if they're, some of them are available on the waiver wire, but just a guy that you can plug in, hope they catch a touchdown, that sort of a thing. And just kind of keep your team afloat while your studs are potentially on a bye. So I've got a couple different guys everywhere. I might as well start a quarterback, I guess, if that works for you guys. For me, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence as a spot start type of a guy. There's not too many quarterbacks that you're really, spot starting for this week. But, if for some reason Jameis was your guy or Matt Ryan, I don't know. You're in a tougher spot if those are your starters regardless. But either way, Trevor Lawrence is the guy I'm looking at. They're playing Miami, tough defense against the run, a little bit tougher against the run. Not lately, I guess, but just look at what they did last week against the Bucs. He had his best game as a pro so far last week. I think they continue to roll. I think, like we talked about last week, Darrell Bevell is able to keep that offense going, and probably is going to be the head coach before the end of the year. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a guy that I'm looking at, as well as potentially Carson Wentz, who looked really good, looked completely healthy from what I could tell. He was scrambling around a little bit, running the ball a little bit, that sort of thing. Again, definitely had his best game. That team's only getting more healthy. I think it's a win now, or else their season's basically going to be over. So those are two guys that I'm kind of looking at that have decent matchups that you could spot start if you're in a pinch. But again, there's not too much of a need, I should say, for a spot starting quarterback this week. What do you think about that, Bryce?
Yeah, I would say if you're spot starting a quarterback this week, you're more than likely leaning on Matt Ryan as your guy, and he's got his bye week. One guy I picked up in one of my leagues where it's not necessarily for a bye week, but injuries was Taylor Heineke. Sorry. He's going against the Kansas City defense this week, and they've looked absolutely abysmal against the pass. So that's a guy I kind of looked at for a spot start for, in this league. There was not very many good quarterbacks on the bench. My other quarterback, of course, was Trey Lance. So he's got a bye week as well. So I kind of just had to kind of pick the best out there, and I picked the guy that had the best matchup, and that was one of the dudes, I focused.
Yeah, Heineke's got the mobility for sure that will help you, because he can get out of the pocket and do some things. Going back to Trevor Lawrence, that's an interesting matchup. Typically I use PFF to kind of see what the matchup looks like, so see how everybody's grading out. And the parts where Miami's strong, which is, the left side of that defensive line with Ogba and Wilkins, is going up against the strength of, well, I guess if you call it a strength, Jaguar strength in Taylor and Barch. But their secondary has not been grading out very well, all under 60 or under PFF wise. So there's certainly some opportunity there. I think Trevor Lawrence for the rest of the season is going to give you some Zach Wilson type situations where you have an amazing game, then you have a game that he wishes he had back. So Miami's been in a bit of a tailspin. So I think that's a fun matchup. And I don't think you can go wrong with either of these matchups because Taylor Heineke's shown that he's doing a very good job as the starter. And quite frankly, when Fitzpatrick comes back, I don't know that they give him the job back because Heineke's been good. It's not his fault that the defense isn't playing up to its potential. Chase Young has not looked like Chase Young as a rookie, and that entire defensive line has played okay, but not been what it was. So I think both of those options are great streaming options. And when it gets to bye weeks, I mean, obviously we're checking matchups. So both of those guys, I think, all of them that have been mentioned are strong. I think Heineke and Lawrence give you kind of the best opportunity for a kind of a boom bust, and Heineke's safer, but Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a really fun boom bust option here because Miami's just coming off of getting decimated. I mean, they made a Hall of Famer look like a Hall of Famer. I mean, he looked really good. So I think that's a fun matchup. And I've had a lot of people. So one I'll put out there as a don't touch is Goff from Detroit. I've had a lot of people message me and say, "Hey, I need a guy to fill in this week. Is Goff playable?" No, go find somebody else. I mean, even so in a dynasty league, it's not super flex. And I've got Burrow who, should play, but was hurt. And so I was trying to get some depth. I have, and this is the one I was talking to you guys about before. I have Burrow and I have Goff. This league is going to be super flex soon. So I went out and I'm trading for Mac Jones because I just don't trust Goff so much that I want to make sure I have another option so I can pick and choose based on matchups. So, Goff, I would definitely tell you guys to steer clear from because Cincinnati's defense is better than what people have been made them out to be. That defensive line creates pressure. The secondary can cause turnovers. Linebackers aren't great, but Hawkinson is the only thing in the middle we've got. So.
Logan, the Detroit linebackers. I thought you were talking about the Bengals. Yeah, I've been talking about the Bengals defense since the offseason, obviously being a Bengals fan. They're a lot better than people think. And look at what Aaron Rodgers didn't do against them last week. I know it was pretty windy and stuff like that, but still, Devonta Adams had 200 yards. But, as a whole and looking at just the quarterback, don't look at the wide receiver. That's completely separate. Devonta is one of the best in the game. So is Aaron Rodgers. But, that defense stood up. Trey Waynes is probably out as far as I know. But still, they do have some depth there. And the interesting part about the Joe Burrow thing you mentioned was it's his voice, and they're trying to, limit his usage of his voice being on the road. That could be interesting with, checks at the line and stuff like that. Should be a lot of hand signals, I guess. It'll be an interesting game to watch with him not being, able to be vocal. So, if the Detroit fans are smart, they'll be ravage loud every time the Bengals have the ball. So that should be an interesting one.
I think they will, that's as a Detroit guy, like the fans show up, even then the team's terrible, which the team is terrible, but the fans and the players are playing hard for Campbell. I mean, the fans are giving everything they got, and the players are as well. So
it's nothing new for the fans in Detroit. So
unfortunately, not.
Might as well show up and be loud, right?
Yeah, we got to root for something, and luckily enough, our college teams are doing well, so we can root for them too. Bryce, let's go to running backs this week. So when we're talking about spot starters, is there anybody that you've been looking at or thinking might be a good spot start this week?
Yeah, if you were able to, kind of gain an advantage in the waiver wire and you were able to get either Booker or Darrell Williams on the waiver wire this week, with Saquon going down, Booker looked pretty good in the amount of touches he got. I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be playing this week, but Mike Glennon was passing it down to Booker a lot. And then Darrell Williams, I think, is going to give you probably similar to 80 to 90% of the same type of production that you're going to see from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think I've said it before, but I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is just an average back in a great situation. And we've seen guys excel in situations like that. So I think Darrell Williams can step in there and do similar production that you saw from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Those are two guys for sure that I would go for. It's kind of hard because the running back's so thin. You can almost start looking at backups. Tony Pollard is a guy that I have no problem starting in my lineup if I've got a bye week of, for Kamara. You're probably, I'm not sure, depending on which format you're on. Cordero Patterson's a wide receiver in some fantasy sites, and I think on ESPN he's listed as a running back. So if you have him at this point, he's been a great starter for you, and he's on a bye week. You got to fill in with one of those two guys, or like some backups like Tony Pollard. I'm trying to think of some other backups that have been able to like kind of produce numbers like that.
Well, and I think this is the week that J.D. McKissic has a big week because Washington's going to need to throw a bunch. So if you're looking for kind of a boom bust to the extreme, McKissic's that guy. Hasn't done great on the year. I think he's like a low end RB3 at this point so far, but he's a guy that you could see get a ton of targets if they are at that point having to pass a bunch.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say like if these guys that I have written down are going to be available or if they're going to be trade targets or on your bench or something like that. But some of these guys, if you're working a deal and you need a quick spot starter and this is like a throw-in option, that's a good way to acquire if you can, or if they're on the waiver wire. But J.D. McKissic is absolutely a guy I'm looking at as well. Any running back that I think can chip in, hopefully if you're playing in a PPR league, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Get a receiver that can get you some cheap points, some cheap catches here and there, get you some yards. I'm even looking at guys, obviously Naeem Hines, J.D. McKissic, my guy Kenny Gainwell. He's a spot start for me this week. Obviously, should be a bit of a shootout. I have a bunch of Eagles that I'm thinking can pick up a spot start for you. Even guys like maybe David Johnson, he might be available. AJ Dillon has gotten double-digit targets opportunities, I should say, in the past 2 weeks. And against Chicago, realistically, I think that the Packers can absolutely throw all over the yard on that team. And if he just chips in a 1-yard touchdown, you just made your start right there. Another guy that I'm really looking at, and we've been talking a lot about this kind of subject because it just keeps coming up, and it's a cheap way to pick off a potential starter, is the Patriots. And I'm looking at Brandon Bolden. Against the Cowboys, they probably are going to lose that game. They're probably going to have to come back. They're probably going to have to throw the ball. Damian Harris didn't practice today. He might, he has a rib issue. Who knows if he's going to be able to play or not. For the past, we've seen running backs, especially with rib issues, sit out for like 3 weeks in a row, different guys. So we could see that happen. And then Ramondre Stevenson comes into play as well. And those are two guys that you should be able to pick up off the waiver wire and potentially start. But obviously, it's only Wednesday, but keep an eye on Damian Harris. And, if I'm picking one, obviously, especially PPR, I'm going Brandon Bolden because they're going to have to throw the ball and have to come back against the Cowboys. They probably are going to lose that game. It is at home, so we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting game. I've been watching a lot of Patriots, but we'll see.
It'll be closer than people think. I said that about the Tampa Bay game. It's Bill Belichick is a defensive coach, and they're playing at home. They don't get blown out usually in games like this. It's happened. We've seen the Bills do it before last year, but it's just not something we see very often. So it won't surprise me if this game is a 1 to 4 point game.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, make sure you guys, anybody who's watching right now or in the future, Sunday morning, Bryce, Rick, and the guys go live and help you get your lineup set up. Whether it's your typical fantasy football league or DFS or any of that stuff, you can talk to the guys Sunday morning. These are types of questions that are good to have. So Damian Harris, questionable throughout the week. Do we expect him to play? What do we do if he is going to play? Is he worth playing? Those are the types of questions Sunday morning. It's important to have somebody to talk to.
Absolutely. Everything could change. Everything could change by Sunday with the practice schedule. And every week, I think there's been a guy that's kind of a surprise out, and you got to scramble to find a replacement. So check it out on Sunday morning.
It's important to note Damian Harris did fumble on the goal line again. I think it's his third this year. It wouldn't surprise me, even if he's active for the game. He's absolutely, they have him on the roster as more of like a just in case. But I can already tell you right now that I would feel more comfortable, even if Damian Harris was active, starting Ramondre Stevenson. over him this week.
Yeah, he had 11 carries, 11 or 12 carries. He only had like a 2.1 yards per carry, so he's kind of got to get going there. But I do like Stevenson, but I think Bolden would be the guy. And
I think another one to throw into the conversation, you had already mentioned him, Cody, was David Johnson. We talked about him last night on the show, and they're using him as a slot receiver. He has almost as many targets as he has carries so far this year. 18 carries, and he's had 15 targets, and he's caught 13 of them for 113 and a touchdown. So he could be a fun PPR option.
Yeah, and Rhodes is out for Indy most likely, so they're going to be hurting in the secondary, as they pretty much always have. I've been dogging their secondary for quite a while, and it's for good reason, to be honest. And David Johnson's going to be that guy, that pass-catching back. I thought Philip Lindsay would be a little more involved. Mark Ingram is not involved in the passing game whatsoever. And I think Philip Lindsay has like maybe 2 targets, something like that.
Yeah, he's not getting much.
Yeah, so David Johnson could be a cheap, he should be available. You could just grab him, throw him in, hope he gets you a touchdown. He got one in week 1, so I guess the do factor's there. So it's worth a shot. And if you got Javonte Williams, if you got him on your bench, plug him in. I'm doing it. So it's a good week to plug him in. I know a lot of people are talking him up, and I'm a big fan of Javonte, but I think this is the week that he could kind of go off and have a bit of a game. He's averaged like 6.9 and 7.9 yards per carry the last couple of games. It's only on like 15 carries, but still, you can obviously see that big play potential that he has. So I think this could be the week that he gets in the end zone with one of those plays.
And do we anticipate Alex Collins being a guy too this week? Do we think where do we think Carson's at this week?
He didn't practice again today, yesterday. So at this point, Wednesday is kind of that day where veterans do take off a lot, but they say his neck is still sore. If Chris Carson is not, it's something I'm going to monitor, but if he's not playing, Alex Collins was getting plenty of volume, just kind of a tougher matchup against the Rams right defense. So if he's playing,
last week it was. This week it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely a guy I feel comfortable still putting in my lineup.
Yeah, he's supposed to practice tomorrow. So again, tune in on Sunday and see what happens with the practice schedule and if he's going to play or not, and then we'll have to reassess from there. Honestly, it's just we can't even make that call today, in my opinion. So last week we knew he wasn't playing. It was easy. Obviously, it was a Thursday game, but tune in on Sunday to get your answer on that one.
I like it. All right, so we're to wide receivers now. What kind of spot starting receiver options do we have, Bryce?
So, I'm looking, I did what you did, Brad. I went through rosters and some of the redraft leagues I'm in, and you see guys like Tim Patrick, not in people's, everyday lineup. Emmanuel Sanders at this point has been a guy that is on a lot of people's benches that you could probably, plug in your lineup. But I wanted to ask you, Brad, I was real big on this guy as being a spot starter. I had to do it last week with Calvin Ridley out, and it was Quintez Cephas. But since he's out, Amon-Ra St. Brown saw a decent amount of targets, and he caught almost all of them except one. That's a guy that I think could be a great spot starter that is probably on your waiver wires this week. What do you think of him, Brad?
Yeah, he that's 2 weeks in a row where he's had near 10 targets, and I think he was like 6 catches against Chicago and maybe 7 last week against Minnesota. As the season goes on, they're going to keep targeting him because he really is supposed to be their slot receiver. He'll probably play on the outside just as much as he plays inside. They're going to move him around because he doesn't necessarily have the speed to beat anybody deep. Since he could, because those corners aren't insanely fast. But yeah, he's a guy that, if you're looking for spot starter, he's certainly a very viable option because of what they want to do with him. And hopefully if he can begin to emerge, that opens up Hawkinson, because in a lot of comments here on our YouTube videos, people are asking about Hawkinson and what to do with him because he's just not been able to produce the last few weeks. Good defenses for sure, and good defenses that can cover tight ends for sure. But when you're the top option, teams are double, triple coveraging you, taking you out of the game. So having a guy like Amon-Ra step up will help both of them.
Yeah, I definitely want to chime in on all that. Actually, I was in that exact position I had Quintez Cephas on my bench. He went down. I need a spot starter. Picked up St. Brown. I'm gonna start him. So I literally am in that exact scenario. Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking he absolutely can be, and with these guys, with all these guys, you're realistically hoping for double-digit points. That's about it. 12 points is about all you're really hoping to get out of these guys, and that's what I'm hoping to get out of St. Brown. And I think that's I'm not going to say a safe floor, but it's a very, very reasonable floor for that player.
In a PPR, yeah.
Yeah. And then with Hawkinson, I don't think he's completely healthy, I think is the biggest thing going on there. Like, yeah, he's played some defenses, but I don't think he's completely healthy. And I think, once he gets back to being completely healthy, and maybe hopefully some other receiver can help him out. And realistically, that whole team, even the run game, both running backs have been, P's and Q's every week, and they've played well. But I just don't think that Hawkinson is completely healthy right now. So if I'm a Hawkinson owner, I'm not selling him. I'm just going to wait and see a little bit. If it's 2 more weeks of similar kind of production, then maybe, panic or trade him or whatever you want to do. But right now, I'm going to wait and see and make sure he's fully healthy before I do anything crazy with him. But for wide receiver spot starts, I'm looking at I'm just looking at a bunch of matchups and trying to, pick off the wide receiver 2 or whatever it is. We touched on it briefly with the Patriots. Obviously Trevin Diggs is defensive rookie of the year. Probably he's in conversation for defensive player of the year right now, which is crazy. He is playing unbelievable right now. So you want to find a wide receiver that's going to be away from him, basically. So you're kind of rolling the dice, but between Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, flip a coin and just whichever one works out for you. Probably Aguilar, I'm thinking. But that's not a bad matchup there. And then the Philadelphia Eagle wide receivers are 2 guys that I'm looking at as well. Jalen Reagor might be owned if he is. Quez Watkins is not a bad option. He's 1 play away from a kind of a touchdown. I believe a similar type of a player, Deshaun Jackson, who I also have on this list. He's not a bad guy to just throw in there. He's been getting 3 targets, 5, 3, and 3 targets for Deshaun Jackson, and they're gonna take 1 shot at least with him downfield. They do almost every game, and he's showed up, I think, twice so far. So, he's another guy that you could throw in there and kind of roll the dice on again. But Quez Watkins, 3.4 targets per game all season. And like I said, he's 1 play away from potentially being, wide receiver 2 even. So that's a guy that I'm looking at, especially obviously against banged up Tampa Bay. It's a Thursday game, so you're rolling a dice on a guy that you could potentially, make a concession for later on in the week and change your lineup on Sunday, sort of a thing to account for that. So that's a guy that I'm looking at. And then the last matchup is the Browns against the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm looking at Donovan Peoples-Jones and Rashard Higgins. Peoples-Jones had 6 targets in a shootout against the Chargers. I'm liking that. Higgins has had 12 targets in the last 2 weeks, so 6 per game. And again, that was a big shootout against the Chargers, and they might be looking at a similar game against the Cardinals. I don't think, I couldn't see that offense struggling again in back-to-back weeks like that. So I think the Browns are going to have to throw up some points. They've looked good everywhere on defense. But that's what I'm kind of doing, is looking at matchups where I can pick off a wide receiver 2 or 3 and just hope that they get me a deep touchdown. So what do you think, Brad?
And 2 names I want to bring up that continue to come up in our YouTube comments, Emmanuel Sanders and Hunter Renfro. So do you guys think these guys are viable? I mean, Hunter Renfro is continuing to get targets in that offense, and Sanders keeps getting, touchdowns and some targets. Are these guys that you feel like you can trust going forward as we're hitting this kind of the bye week schedule? Can we put them in our lineups regularly and feel good about it, Bryce?
Yeah, I tried to honestly look past guys like Renfro, where I was looking at more deeper options. Like if I had Renfro on my bench and I've got a bye week, I'm easily putting him in and feeling pretty good about it. Like that dude gets so many targets, and things like that. Emmanuel Sanders, he was on my list. He's a red zone threat. At this point, he's that team's number 2 receiver from what it seems like. Cole Beasley's kind of disappointed a couple weeks in a row. I know he's a slot, so he didn't play the same position. But Yeah, those are two guys I feel comfortable definitely putting in my lineup. I feel more comfortable putting in Hunter Renfro more than Emmanuel Sanders because I think his floor is way more safer. And if you can get a really safe floor on a spot start, you got to slam dunk that. If you're 1-4, then I could see you maybe wanting to or 2-3, and you want to really kind of jump back into the contention. I'd probably consider Emmanuel Sanders over Renfro a little bit. So you can definitely take your record into consideration. Are you trying to get back in this league? Redraft, obviously you are. You got to take those dudes with the higher ceiling for sure. We think,
Cody?
I've got Hunter Renfro as maybe like a wide receiver, a low end wide receiver two. Yeah. Like weekly. I really think that he's just that good, and he's been getting targeted, and they've made an effort to get him the ball more that I thought they should have done last year. I think he's pretty high up there as far as slot receivers are concerned in the game. I'm very high on Hunter Renfro personally. And Emmanuel Sanders, I got vetoed last week on a start sit question on Manny Sanders. And yeah, I like him a lot. I think it surprises me. I didn't think he would be quite this good for this team. I was a big Gabe Davis truther. But and I still
that hasn't worked out
in like a dynasty format. I still am for Gabe Davis, but yeah, he's been super reliable as long as he stays healthy, and he's shown that he can do that in obviously throughout his career, and as long as he stays healthy, which he looks fantastic right now. So I'm again Emmanuel Sanders. I'm thinking low end wide receiver 2, maybe even middle of the pack wide receiver 2 for Emmanuel Sanders on that explosive offense. Yeah, until he lets me down. And same thing with Hunter Renfro. He's had double-digit points every week. So until I see otherwise, I'm going to just keep rolling them out there.
Trust it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we got to bring a super chat into the conversation. Derek Just, thank you for the $4.99 at super chat, my friend. Question: traded Waddle and Miles Sanders for Josh Jacobs. My running backs are now Kamara, Hunt, Fournette, Pollard, and Jacobs. Did I make a good trade? Bryce.
I'm a Waddle. I love Jalen Waddle. I think he's just in a bad situation. I think he could be competing for, I wouldn't say Jamar Chase, but I think he'd be putting up easily the second best numbers for wide receiver right now.
And there's his wide receivers
D-Hop, Renfro, Beasley. Yeah, I would probably almost like Waddle above Beasley at this point. I just think I'm probably in the minority in that. I just really like Jalen Waddle.
He's got his starters at this point with Amari, D-Hop, right. And even Renfro.
Renfro.
So really what he did was he boosted his running back because Miles Sanders has not been doing anything for him. So he boosted, hoping that Josh Jacobs bounces back to form, which we anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically gave up a depth wide receiver and a not startable running back at this point for a guy who should be a startable running back because he should be healthy. From what I've heard, he's good to go.
Derek, how many running backs are you starting, and how many wide receivers are you starting?
Yeah, if you can start 4 running backs, that'd be great. But I like those 3 better than Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Well, so his running backs right now, his true starters have to be Kamara and Hunt, and then
for me, Fournette is a start every week running back right now.
Right. I like Josh Jacobs the 4th best, and I guess Jalen Waddle would be the 4th best wide receiver for you. So, I think it's just more of a lateral move than anything. I think you just kind of added maybe a depth piece where I guess if Josh Jacobs comes back into form, he could be your 3rd best running back to where.
Yeah, that's why it's important with how many running backs you're starting. If you're starting 2 running backs and maybe 2 flex, then I don't hate that. But if
you're starting an even trade, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad trade. I think I'm with you on that.
You can start 4 running backs if you wanted to.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that makes him better.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs.
I would say so too.
Especially
it's a fair trade though.
Yeah, especially
with Jacobs over Waddle.
With injury potential. You want more running back depth than wide receiver depth, just for injury potential. So if you can start all of those running backs,
right now his starting lineup would then be Kamara, Hunt, and either Fournette and Pollard, either one of those 2, and then Josh Jacobs. So I think it makes his team stronger for sure because he looks Jacobs looks healthy and looks back, and now with a change in coaching, who knows what that offense looks like. They probably actually start running it through Jacobs again like they should instead of mixing it up and having a bunch of running backs play.
Well, and I think we know that Kenyon Drake's not going to cut into Josh Jacobs at all, which he absolutely should not. So,
Correct.
he is by far the best running back on that team, and it's not even
Yeah.
close to being close.
Right.
So, absolutely, Josh Jacobs should be that guy. He absolutely can be the bell cow in that offense if they decide to go that way. So, we'll see how it goes, but I don't mind that trade. Yeah, I think here's the thing, you got the best player. That's
Right.
that. You got the best player. In every trade that I look at, who's the best player in the trade? And did you get him? You did. So can't feel bad about it.
Agreed. So thank you, my friend. Hopefully that helps you and gets you what you need. And yeah, so that's good. So just an FYI out there, if you do super chat, I bump you to the top of the line. But now we are going to go back up to the top of the questions, and we're going to hit some of these questions.
Do we want to touch on tight ends quickly or no?
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
I just want to bring up Dan Arnold. I just want to bring up Dan Arnold because we touched on him last week. Someone asked a question about him. I saw everything I need to see. Go ahead and
I think him and Seals Jones are good plays this week.
Yeah, Seals Jones, Dan Arnold, two guys I had, and Zach Ertz. Dallas Goedert is probably not playing on Thursday, so that's a fantastic start as well. And Evan Ingram was the last guy I had written down just because he has progressed every game. He's gotten better every game. Wide receivers are a little bit hurting there, but Dan Arnold especially, I saw everything I needed to see. The concerns about is he going to get those targets? A little more sample size. I saw enough. I like Dan Arnold.
If by chance he got picked up in all the leagues I am this week, but Hunter Henry was on a lot of waiver wires last week.
Oh, yeah. If he's available, grab him too. He's starting to take over.
Definitely the main guy there.
He's the better tight end there, in my opinion. I thought that going into the season too. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So there you go, folks. If you do have more questions after the fact, obviously drop them on any of our tier videos or on this video after the fact, and we monitor those comments. Do apologize if we miss a comment. We try to get to all of them. You guys have been doing a great job with them. Now it's on to the Q&A portion of the show. Patrick Sally brings a question. What is too much for Kyle Pitts in a productive struggle and would love to pick up a tight end?
I think it means pick up.
I think it means pick up a tight end. All right. So what is too much for Kyle Pitts? This is a redraft show, so let's look at it from a redraft focus. What is too much for Kyle Pitts? Is it wide receiver 2 value wise?
Because it's tight end, yeah, because it's a non-premium position, and I like Kyle Pitts moving forward quite a bit. Yeah, I would say about that value, wide receiver 2. If you're sitting there with Hunter Renfro and you need a tight end, and the guy will take it for Pitts, you might have to sweeten the deal a little bit just because of name value. But yeah, I think wide receiver 2 value, evaluation, whatever you want to call it. That's what I would look at. What do you think, Bryce?
You're more than likely you're going to have to overpay, I think, at this point, because more than likely the owner of Kyle Pitts drafted him too early anyway. And he finally just gave you the game that person wanted, right? So at this point, I know you'd probably like to pick up Kyle Pitts, but I think that you should target a guy like Hawkinson over Pitts at this point. You're going to pay way less. And I think you can end up getting similar production throughout the rest of the year. Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal athlete. He's built like a wide receiver playing tight end. But I just think that you're going to have to overpay to get somebody. If you're already in a productive struggle, you probably can't afford to overpay. So I would go look for a guy that's struggling that has that potential, like TJ Hawkinson. Even Noah Fant could be in there, even cheaper than Hawkinson probably.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's a solid answer. It might be the same price tag, if not cheaper, for Hawkinson, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. All right. So Anthony over on YouTube says Mooney or Chenault or Patrick or Renfro PPR. I can only start one. I think I lean. It's either Patrick or Renfro for me. Either one of those two, and probably Renfro based on the amount of targets he's been getting. Let me verify. I think
I'm going back to the well with Chenault. I'm going back to
the well. Keep getting burned, eh?
Yeah, it's a great matchup. If I like Trevor Lawrence, I have to like Chenault, don't I? So that's kind of
that doesn't mean that Chenault's going to get you any points, though.
No, but
he was a huge bust we were all over him last week on the Sunday, or we weren't here Sunday morning, but I feel like we talked about Chenault a lot last
he
week.
busted
He
bad.
definitely
we talked
killed
about him a
us.
bunch, and he busted for sure. But I'm going back to that well in this scenario here. I'm going back to that well. Maybe Patrick. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Who do you think, Brad? Who did you say?
He said
I think I'm
Renfro.
leaning Renfro because you're probably going to get between 6 and 8 targets for him at least. Patrick was the other one that I was thinking about because Patrick was getting targeted pretty heavily, but it's kind of up and down where Renfro's more consistent. Mooney, it's hard to trust that offense right now. So as much as I like the player, I would not do that. I'm leaning Renfro.
Just the injuries in Green Bay. I don't hate the Mooney either. I mean, only started one. I'm probably going for the Moon, and I'm going with either Mooney or Chenault. That's how I'm looking at it.
If you're going for the Moon, you literally have to go Mooney, I think, at this point. Right. And then I lean Renfro as well for a more safe play with Brad there.
All right. So follow up from Anthony. PPR, Moss or Booker, is either one worth a flex play over my wide receiver? So I'm assuming it's over the wide receiver we just were talking about. I think I'd play Moss, right?
I'm going Booker.
Would you go Booker? You think?
I would. I just think I'm not sure. This could change based on is Daniel Jones?
He's still questionable.
Yeah, I know. If he's not playing, I'm definitely going Booker. Mike Glennon was checking it down a lot, and Booker put up pretty good numbers last week. I think, did he get over 20 fantasy points?
Yeah, I think he's right at 20, I think. Yeah.
Right. So we know he can put up 20 plus when he's playing pretty much the whole game. Saquon went out after the first drive for the Giants. I'm probably playing Booker over all of them. I think his floor is pretty good. And if he is as involved in the pass game as he was last week against Dallas, the Giants have a tough matchup this week. I can't remember.
It's the Rams. It's not a crazy like the Rams haven't been amazing against the run. So
right. And I feel like backs out of the backfield do well against them too. They don't have like super great linebackers to cover. I thought Dallas would do better at covering backs out of the backfield. So if he had that success against a team like that, I would play Booker over Moss and all those wide receivers.
With this whole spot start conversation as well, and this is a perfect example. I would rather look at a running back that's going to get me touches.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at total touches here is what you really want, and Booker is probably going to give you the most, regardless of anything. Out of all these that we said here, the most touches are going to go to Booker, so he's going to give you the most opportunity. So that's who I go with as well.
All right, there you go. B over on YouTube says Anthony Miller or James Washington in Pittsburgh. So Miller just got signed to the practice squad. Washington, I think, has been questionable. I don't know that he's fully healthy, but Washington is still would still give you closer to opportunity to get production. Anthony Miller's just now getting in, and who knows what to make of him. So Washington for me. What about you, Bryce?
Yeah, it's Washington pretty easily here for me as well.
I would look at maybe hopefully you're not playing any of these guys, but Ray was playing quite a few snaps last week and he looked okay. So, I mean, hopefully these guys aren't playing for you.
Right.
If they are, go watch the start of the video and pick off one of those guys and plug them in.
Yeah. All right. So George over on YouTube, should I trade for Mixon or stay away? I can package Ridley and maybe Mitchell. I would stay with what you've got. I mean, Mixon produces, but I'm not jumping at it.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley has got like the highest floor of everybody. I think he has like a ridiculous streak of when he plays 5 catches over 50 yards. I think the last time he scored less than that when he actually played, obviously excluding injuries, was week 8 of last year. So he literally is good for 10 points every single time he plays, and Mixon's not. I wouldn't even trade Ridley for Mixon straight up.
Yeah, I like the way that I was concerned about that 49ers backfield before last week, obviously with the injury and then Trey Sermon, but Mitchell played well. He got the majority of the touches. He looked pretty good. And Ridley, I'm not besides that, as a Bengals fan, I just don't love Joe Mixon. I really don't. I don't like the way he runs the ball. He's going to have those boom games, but a lot of his games are going to be, as your running back, probably 1, maybe high end 2 is what you're drafting him as. He's gonna bust most of the time, to be honest with you, at that draft capital and at that kind of stature that you're holding him to. He's not gonna hit it. Like, his end of season stats will be there, so it'll look like he's a better option. But the games that he does, it's 35 points, 32 points, and then it's 6, 11, 8, 35. You know what I mean? That's how he is in a fantasy setting. And to be honest, he's a little frustrating as a Bengals fan. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of not trading for Joe Mixon. Trade him away if you have him. That's how I look at Joe Mixon. And I'm a Bengals fan. So,
and he's a Bengals fan. All right. So Ruben over on YouTube, welcome, my friend. Should I start Murray or Heineke?
That's Kyler.
If that's Kyler, it has to be Kyler. What other Murray would it be?
Aaron.
Unless he's talking about like some super flex and he's talking about Latavius. That's the only.
I don't think there's a situation where you're starting a quarterback with the last name Murray over Heineke, right?
No. Never.
Yeah. No. If that's Kyler Murray, that's not even. I don't know if there's anybody I'm starting over Kyler Murray.
No, you shouldn't have another quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That you start over, So no.
Okay. No. All right, Drew. Welcome, my friend. I'm 1-4. My running backs are Barkley, Cook, and Swift. Wide receivers are Corey, Ayuk, Judy, Cooks. Ooh. Injury bug and Cooks.
Underproducing. Yeah.
What wide receiver RB can I get for Barkley's standard scoring? So, in theory, you have to try to ship Barkley because Barkley's going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks potentially.
I think it's going to be more like 2 to 3 is what they're thinking.
2 to 3.
I think it's going to be like 4 to 6.
You think so? They didn't put him on IR.
2 to 6 weeks.
Real bad. That looked real bad.
It went.
I don't know. I think they would have put him on IR if they thought it'd be closer. If they thought 4 for sure. I think he'll be back sooner than people think. That dude heals like Adrian Peterson did. I don't know.
He hasn't though. Adrian Peterson. Everyone keeps saying that. And Adrian Peterson led the league in rushing. Is the year after, right? Barkley has struggled, so he's not healing like Adrian Peterson.
Well, I mean, he hurt something completely different, but I don't think that Barkley. I think they just babied him. I don't think he was hurt when he started the season. I think they just wanted to wean him back in rather than just like give him a full workload because that's what got him hurt in the first place, right? Was just giving him the ball too much. And I don't know. I just think that he looks like explosive on all the touches he got, even in the early weeks, even though the production, the box score and the fantasy points didn't show how actually good he still looked. But I guess it's good that he didn't.
And the unfortunate thing here is that Drew is 1-4, and he needs to work on this receiver core. So Barkley is kind of the guy he has to ship out because he needs to compete still. So he needs Cook and Swift to play, but then he needs to fix receivers. So he's going to have to, first you have to think about who his trade partners are. It's limited to somebody who's winning and can sustain holding a running back who's hurt for 3 to 6 weeks or however long it's going to be, but then has wide receiver depth that's willing to trade you or running back depth. I mean, that's really limiting the upside because I don't know, that there's a lot of teams that you could target. I think you have to look at the teams that are winning and try to find who's their wide receiver 3 who could be a wide receiver 2, or their running back 3 who could be a running back 2, and a wide receiver 3 that could be,
probably both, to be honest. I'm trading Barkley for sure if I can, and like his name value is going to command a reasonable price tag. So especially if you're 1-4, and most teams that have Barkley are probably not winning teams right now, to be honest. You got to look at a 5-0, 4-1, maybe a really good 3-2 team that's had some tough luck, that has some depth. Maybe a guy like, I don't know, Elijah Mitchell, and I don't know. You want a package. You certainly want 2 players with what you have there. And I would, running back, wide receiver. I think you're on the right track. That's what I would do, is get 2, 1 of each.
Well, maybe you find the guy who has Pollard and a receiver who's, a receiver 3 with 2 potential, and you go after that because then Pollard's getting you the PPR action and you can get a receiver.
Standard scoring though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking like Mitchell and
if I'm thinking Barkley, I think Mitchell's a great running back to get in that package, but I think you can almost go after receivers that people may have drafted early that are kind of disappointing to them. I know people, I don't know why, but people seem to be thinking Calvin Ridley's been disappointing this year. Even he just hasn't had a big game. He's been like just consistently average. If you can try and maybe get him, AJ Brown would definitely be a guy to be looking to get. He has been nothing but disappointment, but he's got you're 1-4. So at this point, you gotta go after guys that have that boom potential. And I think AJ Brown's, I know he still has the potential to put up big numbers, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him start turning it around. Just maybe some guys that you can look at that have been kind of disappointing people that took them pretty early.
Maybe like Mike Davis, maybe.
Yeah,
like
that'd be a good one.
T. Higgins, maybe.
David, yeah, Dave. You really do need to try Drew and get a running back and receiver combo. So even if you're taking, maybe you go find the Renfro Sanders owner or whoever and try to package something there, because those are guys that are always looked down on.
Marvin Jones, maybe. Mecole Hardman. Plus a guy like Ridley or Brown or I don't know.
Josh Gordon.
I think you can buy those guys low. Yeah, don't do Josh Gordon.
Yeah, definitely go for a package though. I think we're in consensus agreement there.
All right, so Nicholas, welcome Nicholas. Kamara's on bye and CH is out, starting Devonta and Gaskin this week, hoping for a big break. Yes, you should be fine. Those are both very fine running backs.
Absolutely.
Pepe, welcome. Schultz or Hawkinson this week? Schultz for me.
I think it's got to be Schultz,
right? Yeah. He's just fire right now.
New England's really good at taking away a team's best player, and I'm assuming that's going to be CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys. I shouldn't say best player, best wide receiver. They're not really great at taking away running backs, but that would open the door for who I would assume would be Amari Cooper and Schultz, are two guys that I think have potential to put up really good weeks this week.
Yeah. I got you guys last week on the Dawson Knox over Dalton Schultz. Question. Yeah. So I'm with Schultz though on this one. I'm definitely with you guys on that.
Right to rub it in.
Oh, don't worry. The same type of questions coming up next, but
Logan Wilson's been really good, and Jesse Bates is fantastic. So I think Hawkinson can absolutely take. Plus, like I said earlier in the show, I don't think he's completely healthy. So Schultz is the guy, and he's looked great, man. Dalton Schultz has looked really good.
Yeah, the first few weeks scared folks away because they were trying to get back in the swing of things. So, Jarwin was getting a little action, which was annoying, but Schultz is clearly the guy there. So the next question is very similar. Knox or Hawkinson this week? Now, obviously, Dawson Knox has to be the guy. He's finally producing, so when he came in, everybody was excited. Talented tight end to a team that needed one. Well, they never used him. Now, all of a sudden, they figured out how to use him, and they're using him. He's doing very well.
Is this his third year?
Second, I believe. Maybe third. Second or third. He did have a little bit of case of the dropsies last year, too.
I think this might be his third year.
Might be his third
year. That's usually when kind of tight ends come to their own. We see it. That's what it used to be for wide receivers until, I guess, recently. They're just now really good right out the gate. But tight ends, it usually takes like that, 2 or 3, 4 years sometimes, and it seems like he's hitting that stride right where he's supposed to. So
you are awesome. On the money. He came in
third
in 2019.
That's what I thought.
Third year.
Yeah, I thought it was his third year.
He's looked awesome too. That one catch he made for 30 yards was kind of over the shoulder jumping. That was a big play. That was tells a lot about who he is as a player.
Yeah, it's really nice. Okay, so Insavi, welcome. Start 2 wide receivers and flex 2 PPR. CD, Gaskin, AJ Brown, Antonio Brown, Manuel, Kadarius Toney, Waddle. So Toney is hurt right now, and if Mike Glennon's the starter and he's hurt, I would steer clear. Waddle, I think it has to be CD, AJ Brown, AB, and Sanders. Do we put Gaskin in over any of those guys?
I'd probably take a swing at Gaskin again with that whole touches thing. He had 10 catches on 10 targets last week, and the Jags defense is nothing scary. So he should be able to get a little more room in the running game, and if he can obviously pick off those balls, I'm going CD, Gaskin, AB for sure, and then AJ Brown it's AJ Brown, but it's a little amazing. It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, he's been the biggest. I mean, I think you could argue he's been the biggest disappointment this year in fantasy for people.
He's just not healthy.
Yeah,
His
unfortunately,
knees-
the health and that offense has been weird.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith turns out was a big loss for that offense. But he's also, AJ Brown he is not healthy. That knee is not healthy at all. And Julio obviously isn't healthy either. He's just had a habitual.
He hasn't been healthy for 4 years.
Exactly. I was just going to say, that's what I was getting at. He's had a habitual
Yeah.
hamstring injury for 4 years straight.
So the safe play then is CD, Gaskin, AB, and Emmanuel. Is that what we're thinking?
That's safe. And like Emmanuel Sanders against the Tennessee defense, the way they're running that offense, I'm probably going that route. And it pains me to say, to be honest, but AJ Brown, I don't think I can trust him.
I think I'm still going to put in AJ over Emmanuel, but I don't really like it. But I just really would have a tough time.
Studs, I can't fault
CD is a no-brainer. You'll never have to. You should never have to ask that. I mean, that guy's a stud. He's a stud. So start him. Gaskin, I mean, at this point, he deserves the majority of the touches. He's probably the best player on that offense, which is not saying much, but I mean, Tony and Watt, I mean, that's a lot of good choices. The answer could be Tony here in like another week, but I'm not going to go off 1 week's production until I see it multiple weeks. But he's also a guy like, I couldn't blame you for putting him over AJ Brown and Emmanuel Sanders.
He might not be healthy. Tony might not be healthy is all.
Right. Did he get hurt? That's my fears. Yeah, he's hurt.
Tweaked his knee.
I didn't even see that.
It was right at the end of the game.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right. So Luis, welcome, my friend. I have Kittle on IR. Who should I pick up on waivers? Njoku, Seals Jones, Gesicki. Seals Jones for me. Gesicki would be if you can't get Seals Jones.
Yeah, I'm not playing Njoku. I'm not going off that game and just thinking he's going to be some
mirage
world beater. Plus, they're number 2 against tight ends, so I'm not going with Njoku. I'm not starting even Austin Hooper as a tight end option. So Njoku's off the table for me. I mean, yeah, Seals Jones is a great option. They're gonna. I really don't mind any Washington player there because I think, in all honesty, I think the Chiefs are gonna go ham on that secondary, and they're not going to stop scoring. The way that the season has gone so far for the Chiefs, they're not going to take their foot off the pedal until the football team is dead. So I think they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to be putting up some points. I don't mind Seals Jones at all, but Gesicki I like too. So either one of those guys, I think higher floor Gesicki, higher ceiling. I mean, it's close, to be honest, between those two for higher ceiling. So,
Bryce,
yeah, I'm going Gesicki. Personally, I think he's just now, 3 weeks in a row he's seen over 6 targets. So I think he's just a really safe floor, like you said. You could go Seals Jones if you need that ceiling.
Yeah, that's like the highest floor, Gesicki, no question. Highest ceiling is Gesicki as well, and maybe Seals Jones. But small concern to his back. He hasn't looked fantastic with Gesicki. So
that's true.
That's a small concern for me.
Yeah, for sure. Simplex Sammy, welcome, sir. I traded Waller for Andrews. Good decision?
I mean, no.
I mean, they're both
probably
tight end
not.
ones,
Yeah,
but Waller's
probably.
No.
Probably not. But I wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Andrews above Waller at the end of the year. Seeing how involved Andrews was this week and how successful Lamar was involving Andrews, I guess I could see him continuing that this year. So I don't really necessarily think it's bad, but I probably would have still stuck with Waller. But it's not there. It's not. I think you're
not
trading
terrible,
number 2. I think you're trading number 2 for 3. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a bit of a wash for me. I mean, either way, you're happy with your tight end spot, and you're starting them every week, regardless of anything. So except for bye weeks, obviously. So
yeah, for sure. All right, Pepe with another question: Zach Moss, Pittman, Booker, or Devonta Smith at my flex?
I'm going.
I like Smith a lot with his matchup. Booker, Moss is off the table for me. Pittman is
I mean, Pittman's got to be leading the team in targets, and we know he's getting at least 7 targets a week. Wow. So 4, 12, 12, 8, 7. I mean, so he has a high potential for getting you 7 to 12 targets a game. I don't know that I hate Devonta. I don't like the matchup against Tampa, but I think he could produce.
I love the matchup against Tampa.
I don't know if that offensive line is going to stop Tampa long enough for him to throw to Smith. I mean, because he's going to be on the run all day long.
Yeah.
I think Pittman's the safe player. I think Smith is the ceiling in my mind.
I think Booker's the highest floor. It might be Booker.
Think so?
It's close. I mean, it's close. I'm probably in this situation. I'm personally probably starting Devonta Smith. I mean, he is the wide receiver 1 on that team. He has been getting targeted quite a bit. I am worried about that offensive line, but that pass rush hasn't been, as good as previous years. I mean, they're good enough to get after Jalen Hurts for sure, but I just think slants and drags and stuff like that get Devonta Smith in open space. They're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to score. Like we just saw last week. Like I just said with the Chiefs kind of thing, the Bucs will not take their foot off the gas. They will not. They'll keep throwing it too, and they'll keep scoring. They'll put up 45 points without blinking and not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
well, we just saw it. Yeah.
So that's why I go with Devonta Smith. And hope that he gets me. Yeah.
Pittman against Houston feels like a really nice option, though. I mean, because the Colts should be working to try to get out of the cell. And, they're tied with Houston for the worst record in their division. So I got to think that they try to, just roll over them. But I don't know. I don't hate any of those 3 options, honestly. If you picked one, I'd be like, okay, I could see it. Moss is the only one that I wouldn't.
I'm just looking at game script for those 4 guys, and for me, it would be Smith.
Bryce, did you give an opinion?
I said Pittman, but it's pretty close between him and Smith. I just really like Michael Pittman Jr. a lot, and
right.
I've liked him this offseason, but I'm going
either receiver Pepe. This I would encourage you, Pepe, to come back Sunday morning and ask this question one more time to the group.
Yeah.
This is one of those that I think if you asked 6 people, it would be split. Continue to see 100%. It split. 10 people split. Yeah. It's one of those. It's close, and I think you're going to be okay either way you go. Mia, welcome back. Would you trade Kareem Hunt for Tom Brady in a PPR? If this is a 1 QB and you had another QB, for sure. I guess it just depends on who you're, what you're going to try to then start. But Kareem Hunt's great option in a PPR situation. I don't really have any strong feelings either way. I would go Kareem Hunt if I had a quarterback that was definitely viable.
Yeah, 1 QB if you have another, I don't know, Joe Burrow. Yeah, absolutely. I do this. It depends on your, super flex, 1 QB. How many running backs you starting? There's a lot of right. Variables in that one, but in a vacuum, yeah, I do.
We got this one again. All right. So it's a different person asking though. KC Meyer, welcome. Devonta, AJ Brown, Michael Pittman, and flex. So either Devonta or Michael Pittman. And that's
it's crazy to think. Like if you would ask us this week 1, it'd be like AJ Brown. Not even a question.
There should be no question.
Now it's like he's 3rd.
I know.
In that scenario, though, like AJ Brown, I don't know. In that scenario, that's
fully healthy AJ Brown. It isn't a question, but right now AJ Brown's not healthy. Lord, welcome. I had Russell traded for Jalen Hurts and Sammy Watkins for Miles Sanders and Julio. Okay, so he traded Sanders and Julio for Hurts and Sammy.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, we just said that Julio can't stay healthy, and personally, I'm a forever hater of Miles Sanders. So,
all right, Brandon, welcome. I traded Darrell Williams for Rondale in Dynasty, thinking that was a smash. Except thoughts? Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You should be in jail right now.
You got Rondale. Okay. Yes. Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge. Nice.
Way to go, Brandon.
Yeah, I thought you were saying you traded Rondale for. Oh, no, sir.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, you crushed that trade.
Drew, welcome back. Another question. Which one do you like more? CeeDee Lamb and Eli for Barks, or DJ Moore and Mike Davis for Barks?
Yeah.
I'm assuming
that was I think the question before, the guy who's 1-4, right?
Yeah.
I like CeeDee Lamb and Eli Mitchell.
Yeah, if you can get that, that'd be nice. I mean, that might be tough. CeeDee Lamb is sorry. He is coming off 2 weeks where he kind of probably disappointed his fantasy owners.
I think you're okay either way you go, though, quite honestly. Like, whichever one the owner says yes to, I would do it.
Yeah, I would do CD and Eli first, and then if that doesn't work, go DJ and Mike Davis. I would do both trades, but I would go for the CD first, for sure.
Yeah. This is not Dr. Tedums. Welcome. I'm sorry I butchered your name. I love your picture, though. I was giggling at the good picture. Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, or Kareem Hunt at flex?
That's a great problem.
Yeah,
man, that's a good problem to have.
I'm having to choose between, I don't even know, and Brandon Bolden and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you have this problem.
Yeah, no. Obviously, you are winning, my friend. I'd probably go Kareem Hunt because you know he's going to get action, and he's probably got the.
As long as it's PPR, Keenan Allen for me all day. He's just.
All right, let me check. Let me see the matchups. What do we got here? He's facing the Ravens. That's a good matchup.
Yeah. That's
Chris Godwin.
For Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I'm probably leaning Allen or Hunt.
Godwin's got a good matchup too. But it seems like he's third in that pecking order behind AB and
weird.
It's just Keenan Allen can catch 12 balls for 120 yards and a touchdown. You know, as long as it's a PPR, for me, it's Keenan Allen, no question. I could. Do
you think Hunt has the safer floor?
I honestly don't.
Really?
If I'm being honest, I don't. In a PPR, full point PPR, I think Keenan Allen has the highest floor here.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with Allen. I don't hate the Allen pick. I'm okay with Hunt or Allen, whichever one you like more. Both are very, very nice options, and the Browns are going to have to be throwing and moving the ball down the field quickly because they're going against the Cardinals. That's just that's a fast break offense.
It's crazy to say that Godwin is, like, for me, off the table in that one.
I know. I hate it because I love Godwin.
Yeah, he's my wide receiver one in one of my leagues.
Oh, this isn't a question. This is just a statement. Poor guy.
It's a 16-team league, Bryce.
Yeah,
and savvy. It happens to all of us, my friend. I'm 1-4 in a 10-man with the highest points against by 70 and have the third highest overall. The dude I play this week's got easy matchups. RIP my season. Hey, you know what,
man?
Just keep grinding though. 1-4, potentially 1-5. I mean, just
I've seen people start 0-6. I've seen people start 0-6.
Yeah, you can run the table.
Come back and make the playoffs.
Remember, there's an extra week.
That's like 7th loss. So
yeah. 6, I'd start worrying for sure, and then 7, you're probably out of it.
Yeah, Jalord, this is a good problem to have. I love both of it because Cortland Sutton balled out. Yeah, you wish you played him last week.
I was waiting for you to say. I played Cortland Sutton in one of my leagues. I played him over AJ Brown.
Their production was the same. He just got that. He got that touchdown. They killed it for me. Catches, targets, yards was all fairly close. Just he got that touchdown.
No,
and Tim Patrick missed I think he missed like 2. He had like 2 red zone targets that
he should have caught. They were balls he should have brought down. Thoughts on Sutton for flex and D Booker? Oh yeah, Booker's great. Is a great option.
These are both great options.
Yeah.
I don't know who's Denver playing this week. They got the Raiders, who are. That's a tumultuous situation. So I would start my Broncos against them for sure.
Plus they're banged up at corner. So
plus they're hurting. Yeah. Casey Meyer. Thank you guys. Thank you, Casey or K Meyer. No C. I don't know why I said Casey Meyer. K Meyer, sorry about that. Should I try and trade for an RB2? My RBs are CMC, Chuba, Hines, and Khalil Herbert. Wide receivers are Tyreek, DJ, AJ, Devonta, Pittman. I would take AJ Brown right now and try to trade him for a running back. With what you've got, people are going to bite on that name and get yourself a nice RB2 with RB1 upside.
Find that guy that's got 3 because there's always one in your league that's got 3 that he starts every week, and see if he is hurting at wide receiver and give him. I mean, I'm probably not moving Tyreek and DJ Moore for anything other than an elite guys, but I have no problem trading any of the 3 other dudes to get you a solid second running back, because it looks like you're definitely hurting there for a running back.
Yeah,
too.
I would dangle AJ Brown to anybody who's got 3 running backs that are valuable. Maybe go get the Kareem Hunt owner if he's got 2 other running backs, or Josh Jacobs owner, who's Josh Jacobs has been kind of down, but he's also been hurt. Maybe he's bouncing back finally.
Yeah, AJ Brown's value is, if all things remain the same, is going to nosedive a little bit. So while you have name value,
cash it in.
Yeah.
All right, Pepe, welcome. Is Dalvin playing this week? If not, do I start Madison or Booker? If Dalvin's not playing,
if Dalvin's
they're facing the Panthers, I would start Booker if Madison's running, because they're facing the Panthers, who have a pretty solid run defense. If Dalvin's playing, then you play Dalvin because he's your stud. But you got to keep an eye on it. He's still, he was game time last week against Detroit. So
same boat. I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
And would you guys start Booker over Madison if those 2 were the 2 that were playing?
Who's Minnesota playing again?
Carolina, and then New York.
Booker is playing against the
on the road.
Rams.
I'm going Booker over Madison.
Yeah. It's weird because Madison just did great last week, right? But we've seen him lay eggs before.
It was Detroit.
Detroit Lions.
So, yeah.
Don't give him too much credit.
Booker. Yeah.
All right. So, K-Meyer, thank you. Appreciate it. You have a great night as well, my friend. That's it, folks. We are done for the night, but don't forget, Sunday morning, Bryce and Rick and the team do the Boomer Bust show, which helps you get your lineup set, and they go up until game time. They give you all their time they got Sunday morning. If you guys haven't jumped into the Discord yet, go to rotoheat.com, jump in the Discord. We do stages in there where we jump on just kind of a chat stage. You can ask us questions, DFS lineup, stuff like that. We'll help you get ready for tomorrow night or the weekend slate. We have tons of chats in there as well, and Discord's free, so you get access to us 24/7 for free. You're welcome. We thank you guys for hanging out with us. We really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe. If you're watching this after the fact, comment. We will respond as quickly as possible, and you will see the 3 of us back again next week. Have a good week. We'll see you later.